All right, as we see there, we see that in this mural, we see that education is the passport, uh, is the passport to the future. Education is the passport to the future. As I try to get this thing situated the best way I can, I'm going to proceed on as I try to posture myself the best way I can. And I'm here representing my vibration. And when I vibe, that which keeps me alive is my tribe. I realized too in this wise is that I believe it was Mark Twain that said that travel is fatal to prejudice. To prejudice. Yes, and fatal. In other words, one must overcome having a fatalistic mindset. For the most part, fatalism is closely associated to casualties of war, and the battlegrounds is ideological, and the war is psychological, and we deal with one's philosophical views, and he or she who controls the resources can use those resources to bribe others to come on their side and to their point, their way of thinking, I should say. Now, even though I think Elijah Muhammad was stating that a vision stems from the source of one's thinking. Yes. Another thing I believe was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if you put black people in paradise in 3 years, it will become a ghetto. If you put white people in a ghetto in 3 years, it will become a paradise, and it has to do with one's thinking. And I think Jamal, former H. Brad Brown, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but you know him as H. Brad Brown. He was talking about if that which is oppressing us is ignorance. And I realized that ignorance is the result of hostility, as if there's nothing else to relearn. Because that which we think we know, we really don't know, and realize there's more to be learned. So we talk about, as Mark Twain, who was a part of the anti-imperialist movement here in North America, and also Booker T. Washington was a part of that group as well. But he talked about travel is fatal to prejudice. Someone says that prejudice is an attitude and discrimination is an act. Well, because you either you prejudge something, and when you prejudge something, you can do it prematurely, because what has been invested in us from the Creator is potential. And you look at a flower, some may blossom faster than others, but a flower is still a flower. Yes, it says bigotry, and I realized that, and he also said narrow-mindedness, Mark Twain. So we have to deal with people who are very, narrow-minded, and not open-minded. And when you look at it from this perspective, when a the sun hits a flower, it opens up, it blossoms. Sun, light, light, ra, or light really means knowledge. Then therefore you open up, because the root word for that which people call savior really means to open up. So surely we need to open up. Think about it from a, whether how you want to take it. When we came here, something had to open up. The womb had to open up in order for us to be in this existence, this plane of existence. Because realize this here, that any space that becomes inadequate for you, you must come out of it. You must come out of it. So we have to deal with overcoming feelings of inadequacy, which I call a social learning disability. When you deal with that, you have to deal with people say to themselves, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? And yes, you are. But we was born with a dignity and nobility. So, he says many of our people need it sorely to travel. Yes. And he says, and on these account, and become open or broad-minded, and wholesome, and he said, and charitable. These become attributes or characteristics of those who travel. As it pertains to men become it becomes like a requirement of one's of the development of one's intellect and one's intelligence. So we're also talking about a sense of mobility. And I realize, as Dr. Seymour has said, the educator, she talked about culture. And she said that you have to take a serious look at culture when it becomes destructive. Yes, because the culture is dynamics. It's dynamic. It always changes, and it compensates or fills the void. And it fills that void, and compensating for that void whatever is missing, so that it could serve as a benefit or as a benefactor. And as we look at the whole universe in which we live, it serves as a benefactor to us, and as human beings in all life existence. So, as that as a foundational stone, we realize that there are many definitions of education. People have it, but I have realized that a truly educated person is one that has the responsibility to teach people to have affection for discipline. Yes, because they are, when you educate it, they become disciplines. Yes, and you transmit those disciplines for the best and the benefit of the people in the society. So, also know that education in the Latin sense means to bring out that is from within. Yes, and what we have inherited is nobility and dignity in the manner and the way in which we were created. So I have this: when in doubt, we need a communicable idea. Yes, because communication is key. Yes, it is said that when Alexander went to Egypt, and we know that the people that went to Egypt, or Kemet, wherever you want the term you want to use, that they went there as students to learn. Yes, and we know that under the teachings of Ma'at, they talk about knowing thyself, and when you know thyself, there are certain things that you need to know about yourself, and certain things you need to stay away from, such as and remember, in knowing thyself, it also represents a form of integration, because there are things that you need to have disregard for yourself about. Then there are things that you do and that is very simple, and there are things that you do that has a lot of that is wise. Yes, and then there are things you do that is dangerous. Yes, and you put people at risk and at harm. Yes, and then we do it to ourselves. So therefore, that I say that when I was dealing with Alexander when he went to Egypt, the first he destroyed the image of a people and how they see themselves, and the last thing that he destroyed was the manner and the way in which they communicate. So yes, and so in the image which was destroyed of how people see themselves, then therefore they will communicate that destruction. Yes. So when in doubt of culture, we need a communicatable idea that we may learn from our everyday experiences. Yes, because we must be able to have a idea. Because I realize this here is that the ancients also says that humanity will be driven by ideas. So what's most important is the human development of our humanity, but the human development of the intellect, of our intellect, in an excellent way. And we need to be able to communicate that idea in an excellent way. Yes, and in our everyday experiences. Yes, and that becomes as associated as an idealist. Yes, and then secondly, when in doubt of culture and communicating, or we need a communicatable idea. We need to continue to be effective conciliatory healers. And what I mean by conciliatory healers, I mean to the fact that one must overcome animosity and distrust. Yes, and that's the key now, because animosity and distrust leads to anxiety attacks. So these are some of the things that we must be able to communicate and facilitate in that regards, and create an environment and the tools and having the aid, the help in the assistance to communicate this idea of becoming conciliatory healers, as well as being able to learn from our everyday experience as an idealist. Yes, these are solutions. Yes, so we need to continue to be effective conciliatory strategists. You notice I use the word conciliatory again, strategists. Yes, being able to communicate the idea of becoming a conciliatory strategist. Yes, and I realize that in doing so, one cannot relish in the past, because the past is just a reference point, is not a place of residence. Yes, yes. So, and then fourthly, we need to continue to be effective conciliatory mobilizers. Yes, it says that Dr. King was a mobilizer. So we have to, be, mobilizers, as well as conciliatory mobilizers, as well as conciliatory strategists, as well as conciliatory healers, to help us and understand and communicate a healthy idea as it pertains to helping us in our everyday experience. And then we need to continue to be effective conciliatory organizers. Marcus Garvey says organizing is the key. Someone says that, I think Marcus Garvey says our problem is that we're being organized. Yes, but before there's organization, you must first have cooperation. That's why I always say that adequate cooperation leads to proper communication, and that's how you effectively coordinate your power. Yes, and surely power is enthroned. Yes, it is on the throne. Yes, it is on the throne. Yes, it sits on the throne of one's dome. Yes, and man is mind and mind is man. Yes, so in that mind of man, it must be, not only go through stages of development of maturity, as I call the maturation process, and it consists of 5 components. And the 5 components of the maturation process is first understanding. Yes, out of understanding comes consciousness. And in that understanding, it is designed to restore social credibility, because planet Earth is a sociological structure where there's inclusions and exclusions. But because the key to social life is family. And the second component of the maturation process is a tolerance. and that is designed to readdress social diversity. And I realized moving from a persecuted minority to a privileged majority, and anytime you're really addressing social diversity, you're addressing the aspirations of the people. Yes. Yeah. So, in the third component of the maturation process is temperament slash temperament. The attitude and your temperament slash control that is designed to revise social coherency. So anyone that wrote a book, if it's written in I know in this English Bible, and it's written in Greek form, it's designed to exonerate them. And even in the Constitution of the United States, it has amendments. It is to amend, it's to correct that which is wrong. Al Green did a song, so how can we mend a broken heart? Yes, yes, and how can I think a loser ever win? But we are not losers. We are all supreme. We are created in supremacy as it pertains to what He had given to us. Is that we must have control over our intellect. Yes, and that is supreme. And as it pertains to our instinct as well. Yes. So. And then the fourth component of the maturation process is a confidence. Because many know that the continuity of our confidence in cooperating with one another has been interrupted. It's like a devastation or catastrophe that interrupts one's way of living or one's life. And we know, as it pertains to either tornadoes or hurricane or whatever, a natural catastrophe interrupts one's way of life. But this is a natural catastrophe. But an unnatural catastrophe, as it pertains to anyone who does things to dehumanize the people and interrupt their way of life in an evolutionary process, as it becomes to the human development of their intellect, that is an unnatural catastrophe. Because anytime you take anything out of its natural form or natural state, that makes them, that is evil, because because anything that is natural form or natural state is spiritual. Yes, and when you take it out of that is not spiritual. Yes. So in the final frontier, understand the maturation process. It is designed to, as I said, revise social coherency. And I said to replenish. I say the fourth thing when it comes to confidence is to replenish the social continuity. As I think Brother Dr. King says, that the ghetto is like a domestic colony, always being depleted but never replenished. So therefore, even in that English verse talk about kenosis period, there must be an emptying out, but in there emptying out, there must be a replenishing. So that's why I think say the idle mind is a playground for the devil. So therefore, our mind must not remain idle. And when you're idle, you're just sitting there not doing nothing. You are neutral. Yes. So. And then the fifth component of this maturation process is respect. And we're talking about reclaiming respect. Is to reclaim social solidarity. Because when you are organized or when you have respect, and when someone knows that you can exact the same force on them that they can exact on you, they will proceed with caution. Yes. And as I go back to the solutions, when it comes to being, when in doubt of culture, we need a communicable idea. We need to continue to be effective conciliatory teachers as well. Yes, we surely do. And if anything, that, as I say, for me, what's most important is to teach reverence. Reverence. And when you have reverence for all of creation, and therefore we must be good stewards of it. And being good stewards of it, we do not exploit it for our own selfish benefit, if I may use that word. But it serves as a benefactor for all of humanity. Yes, it surely is. So, and then another solution when it comes to when in doubt of culture, we need a communicatable idea. And we need to continue. I use the word to continue to be effective conciliatory facilitators. Yes, and finally, we need to continue to be effective and judicially reinforcing this communicable idea. We need to be effectively conciliatory communicators. Yes, yes. So, and I'm gonna say this, and on my way to a close, is that as it says that education is the passport, is a passport to the future, and we need to continue to bring out not the worst in us, and but the best in us. And when you know that you bring out the best in any people, it protects. It serves as a protection, and as a good steward, and as a guide when it comes to being obedient, when it comes to the maturity, the stages of maturity, and development, the human development of one's intellect, and advancing the best of the intellect for the greater good of the society in which we live. Um, and when you do so, you know that truth cannot be sacrificed to any interest. Only interest is to be sacrificed for truth. And I'm going to close by saying this, is that I realize that there's four things that we face every day: problems, questions, issues, and needs. And problems are designed to be solved, issues resolved, and needs met, and questions answered. So what is the problem? Many people are suffering from what is called an identity crisis. Most psychological breakdowns is due to living phony identities and phony lives. So what is the issue? The issue is character resolve. Because that which has been given to us, this material has been given to us, the material is character, and that which builds on our humanity. So, and you're talking about the answer to the question. It is a question of governance. It says, give us this day our daily bread. It is to teach people on a daily basis to understand the importance of maturity, of growth, of development, of understanding, of harmony, of peace, of justice, of equality, and knowing the fact that we are or have the responsibility of being accountable for the consequences of our actions. Because if there is any victimization, it is a victim of humanity's own transgression against itself. And finally, the need is for spiritual guidance. It is a natural inclination, but in that natural inclination, it must be cultivated. And we must overcome ignorance, hostility, and social obscurity. So, as I always say, in closing, may we all be granted success for our labor and joy for our sorrows. Reverend Marlon Moore Kevin, the preacher of preachers, the teacher of teacher, when it comes to reverence from the heart, common humanity mission, communicating with precision, a clearer image to the world. Until next time, talk to you.